Imagine you're stepping out onto a dance floor.
Okay.
The music is perfect, the lights are low, you close your eyes, you take your partner's hand, and you lean in. You're completely ready to just trust them, let them lead.
Right, you're ready to just float.
Exactly. But then, right as the beat drops, they stop dead in their tracks. They turn on these bright overhead fluorescent lights, hand you a clipboard, and ask you to, draw them a map of the exact steps you want to take.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the spell doesn't just break in that moment. It shatters into a million incredibly awkward pieces.
It really does. You go from this beautiful, vulnerable state of flow to suddenly being, well, the project manager of your own night out.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're looking at today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are unpacking this fascinating Danish text today. It's simply referred to as text in our research, and it outlines exactly why that awkward dynamic happens in our most intimate moments.
It's a really incredible piece of writing.
It is. It outlines 5 specific behavioral traps, or what the internet loves to call icks.
Right, the icks.
Yeah, that occur behind closed doors. But what makes this analysis so brilliant is that it's not actually about the physical mechanics at all.
No, not at all.
It's this profound look into the psychology of mental load, the immense pressure to perform, and how we unconsciously push massive emotional burdens onto our partners, right when they're at their most vulnerable too.
Yeah, and I think it's crucial to really set the tone for this exploration right out of the gate.
Oh, for sure.
As we go through these 5 traps, you, listening to this, you might recognize yourself, or, you might recognize a past partner.
Almost definitely.
But these behaviors usually stem from a remarkably good place. It's usually a deep desire to please, or this intense fear of messing up and ruining the connection.
Right. They aren't trying to be malicious.
Exactly. But the tragedy of human psychology here is that these well-intentioned defense mechanisms, they completely dismantle the trust required for true intimacy. They disguise anxiety as authority, or in some cases, insecurity as extreme consideration.
Okay, let's unpack this. The text begins with a trap it calls false dominance.
Yes, the false dominance turn.
Right. And this describes a scenario where someone, often a man feeling the massive weight of cultural expectations, who isn't naturally dominant, suddenly tries to, play the role of the boss in the bedroom.
Because he feels he should.
Yeah. He feels he has to take charge because of some invisible societal script. But the text notes that it just feels incredibly forced. It describes it as feeling like wearing a costume that is 3 sizes too big.
That costume metaphor is perfect because it gets right to the neurological root of the issue.
How so?
Well, when we talk about intimacy, we are talking about an environment that requires profound trust.
Right.
Your partner's letting their guard down.
Right?
So when you put on an ill-fitting costume of false dominance, you might believe you're projecting confidence, but your nervous system is actually leaking insecurity all over the place.
Oh, wow. It makes me think of watching a really bad actor in a local stage play. You're sitting in the audience and you can practically see the wheels turning in their head. They're trying so hard to remember where to stand and what to say next.
They aren't embodying the character at all.
Exactly. They're just reciting lines. It pulls you completely out of the illusion, and suddenly you're just embarrassed for them.
And in an intimate setting, that secondhand embarrassment is perceived by the brain as a threat.
A threat? Wait, really?
Yeah. The authentic person you trust has effectively left the room, and this strange, unpracticed caricature has stepped in.
That is so jarring.
It is. The partner's nervous system picks up on that inauthenticity instantly. It signals that the environment is no longer predictable. The person you love is acting like a stranger, which immediately triggers a subtle stress response.
Yeah.
You simply cannot be vulnerable with a facade.
Man, it's heartbreaking when you think about it. The person wearing the costume is doing it because they desperately want to be a good partner.
They're trying to give you an experience.
Yeah, but by abandoning their genuine self, they guarantee the exact opposite outcome.
And human nature is notoriously reactive. When that false bravado inevitably fails, when the actor forgets their lines and the costume falls off, people don't usually just return to baseline.
They don't just laugh it off.
No, they violently overcorrect.
Right. They swing the pendulum entirely in the other direction. So instead of pretending to be the boss, they become terrified of making a single mistake.
Exactly.
And that massive overcorrection drops us right into the next dynamic, which is all about shifting the mental load.
This is a big one.
Yeah. The text breaks this down into 2 specific traps. The first being the permission loop.
Oh, yes.
This is where the fear of doing something wrong completely hijacks the experience. The partner starts over-communicating every micro movement, like, is this okay? Do you like it? Should I continue?
And for someone who explicitly desires to surrender control in that moment, the permission loop is just devastating.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Think about saving up to go to an incredibly exclusive, high-end restaurant.
Okay, I love this analogy.
You go there to relax, right? To be pampered, to trust the chef's expertise. You want an immersive experience.
You want to think about the cooking.
Exactly. But instead of bringing you a beautiful plate of food, the chef keeps coming out to your table every 2 minutes with raw ingredients.
Oh, no.
Yeah. They ask, should I chop the onions this way? What temperature do you want the oven set to? Is this the right amount of salt?
That sounds exhausting.
You would be furious. You came to be taken care of, not to manage the kitchen staff.
That restaurant analogy perfectly illustrates the underlying mechanism here. It's all about cognitive load.
Like brain power.
Yeah, think of cognitive load like your brain's RAM. You only have so much working memory available at any given time.
Right.
For a partner seeking a submissive or purely receptive experience, the ultimate goal of intimacy is to empty that RAM, to stop processing decisions and exist purely in physical and emotional sensation.
They just want to exist.
Right. They're trying to put down the mental clipboard.
But the permission loop forces them to pick the clipboard right back up.
It violently thrusts all the mental processing back onto them. The partner asking all the crockins believes they are being deeply consensual and polite.
Sure, they think they're being good partners.
But in reality, they are offloading their own performance anxiety. They're subconsciously saying, I am too anxious to trust my own instincts, so I need you to constantly validate me and guide my every move.
Wow.
It transforms an act of profound connection into a stressful administrative task.
That reframing is so powerful, offloading their anxiety. I mean, it isn't about making sure the partner is okay. It's about making sure they are okay.
Precisely.
And that same anxiety manifests in an even quieter, perhaps more exhausting way in the next trap, which the text calls waiting room energy. I feel like this one gets overlooked, but the text emphasizes how heavy it really is.
Yeah, waiting room energy is basically the physical embodiment of the permission loop, just without the verbal barrage.
It's that dead air, that awkward moment where one partner just freezes.
Yeah.
They lie there and just wait for the other person to move, or to suggest a change of position, or to give explicit instructions.
And if the supposedly receptive partner doesn't initiate the next move,
Absolutely nothing happens. You are just stuck in the waiting room.
we really often underestimate how much energy it takes to drive a dynamic forward.
Takes so much energy.
When one partner radiates that waiting room energy, the silence itself becomes a demand. It forces the submissive partner to become the initiator, the director, and the emotional engine of the entire room.
Which is the exact opposite of what they wanted.
Right. It communicates a complete lack of internal direction.
It sounds incredibly exhausting. You're lying there waiting to be taken on a journey, and the driver has just taken their hands off the wheel and is staring at you, waiting for you to press the gas pedal for them.
That's exactly it.
But, okay, let's say a couple manages to avoid all of this. Let's say there's no false costume, no anxious permission loops, and no dead air.
The ideal scenario.
Right. The mental RAM is perfectly balanced. Even then, the text makes a crucial point. Reality is still going to intrude. Intimacy is inherently physical, which means it is inherently, well, clumsy.
Oh, definitely. Knees will bump,
Elbows will slip.
hair will get pulled. It's human.
Yeah, and how a person handles those little reality checks dictates the entire emotional safety of the room. The text calls this fourth trap the clumsy transition.
Right.
But the trap isn't the physical accident itself. The accident is totally fine. The ick is what follows. It's the over-apologizing.
Yes.
The text argues that stopping the momentum to profusely apologize yanks the partner out of their vulnerable headspace and drops them straight into awkward reality.
It completely shatters the emotional container.
No, wait a minute. I have to push back on this premise just a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I'm with a partner and I accidentally elbow them in the face or pull their hair, my immediate instinct is to stop and make sure they are okay. Like, I'm so sorry, did I hurt you? How is being polite and checking on your partner suddenly a toxic behavioral trap?
It is a very natural instinct and honestly a really important question. We have to look at the function of the apology in that micro moment.
Okay.
The trap is not about a lack of care. It is about emotional attunement. Let's say you bump a knee. if you stop everything, pull away, and launch into a whole monologue.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You okay? I'm so clumsy.
Yeah. I completely ruined the mood. I didn't mean to.
Mm.
We have to ask, who are you actually comforting in that moment?
Oh, wow. When you put it like that, I mean, I'm comforting myself. I feel guilty, and I'm verbalizing it to make myself feel better.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Over-apologizing centers the apologizer's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a minor physical bump and inflates it into an emotional crisis that the other partner now has to manage.
That is so true.
The partner who just had their knee bumped, who was in a deeply vulnerable state, now has to sit up, snap out of their intimate headspace, and regulate your emotions.
They have to comfort you.
Yes. They have to reassure you, no, it's fine, really, don't worry about it, you didn't ruin it.
You've literally assigned them emotional homework in the middle of a vulnerable moment.
That's a great way to put it. You force them to pause their own experience to manage your guilt. A truly attuned partner will acknowledge the bump. Maybe, quick sorry whispered or a reassuring touch on the knee.
Right, just a subtle check-in.
But they maintain the shared emotional space. They don't turn on the fluorescent lights to examine the bump. They keep the momentum moving forward.
That distinction makes complete sense. It's the difference between hitting a pothole and keeping your hands on the wheel versus, like, pulling the car over to the side of the highway to inspect the tires for 20 minutes.
You completely ruin the momentum of the road trip.
And that idea of momentum brings us to the most jarring trap of all. The final one the text outlines is the finish line interruption.
Oh, this one creates profound emotional whiplash.
According to the text, this happens the moment the physical goal is reached. The act concludes, and immediately, one partner just completely checks out.
Just gone.
Yeah, they physically roll away, or they instantly shift the vibe back to mundane reality. They start talking about grocery lists. Or worse, they grab their phone to show you a funny video they saw at lunch.
Ugh, yeah.
The text describes this from the vulnerable partner's perspective as feeling like being dropped on the floor.
And that's because it demonstrates a complete lack of emotional object permanence.
Wait, I know physical object permanence, like a baby learning that a toy still exists even when you put a blanket over it.
Right.
How does that concept apply to emotions here?
Well, in this context, emotional object permanence is the understanding that the emotional connection, the shared vulnerability, and the energetic bond still exist, even when the primary physical act has concluded.
Oh, okay.
The partner exhibiting the finish line interruption is treating intimacy purely as a biological transaction. Task completed, check the box, move on to the next daily task, which might be checking YouTube.
It's treating it like a workout. You hit your reps, you wipe down the machine, and you leave.
But for the partner who has deeply opened themselves up, intimacy isn't just a physical peak. It is a full emotional arc.
There's a whole come down.
The neurochemical reality is that oxytocin and bonding hormones are flooding their system. The afterglow, that gentle shared landing back into mundane reality, is a crucial part of that arc.
Right.
When you just drop them, the second the physical act ends, you are signaling that you are only ever present for the transaction, not the connection.
Man, it makes me think of watching an incredibly moving, immersive movie at the theater.
Oh, yeah.
You are entirely swept up in the story, the music is swelling, the screen fades to black, and the absolute second the credits hit, your friend rips off your 3D glasses, turns on a flashlight, and starts yelling about where you parked the car.
That is exactly what it feels like.
You haven't had a second to process the emotional journey. It leaves you feeling profoundly isolated.
It is deeply lonely. You realize you were experiencing a shared emotional landscape, and your partner was just waiting for the timer to go off.
So we have painted a somewhat terrifying picture of all the ways this goes wrong today.
We really have.
You have the ridiculous costume of false dominance. You have the agonizing administrative management of the permission loop. You have the heavy exhaustion of waiting room energy, the reality-shattering clumsy transition, and finally, the isolating finish line interruption.
It's a minefield.
It is. If you shouldn't act like a fake dictator, but you also shouldn't act like a terrified intern begging for instructions, how do you exist in the middle?
Well, the text provides a beautiful, actionable conclusion. It calls it finding the golden middle ground.
Okay, the golden middle ground.
Yeah, the solution isn't about perfectly balancing dominance and submission on a scale. It is about fundamentally shifting your role from a performer to a guide. It emphasizes presence over acting.
So what does this all mean in practice? How does a guide operate differently than, like, a boss or a manager?
Think about a truly expert guide taking you on a hike through a dense, unfamiliar jungle. A boss commands. A boss marches into the jungle, demands that the trees get out of their way, and expects you to march in lockstep behind them, which feels incredibly artificial.
That's the false dominance costume.
Exactly.
Right. And the anxious manager, the permission loop, would turn to you every 5 seconds and say, "Do you think we should step over this log? Is it okay if I use my machete on this mine? Are you having a good time yet?"
And if they did that, you'd wonder why you hire them at all.
I would just go home.
But a guide doesn't yell at the jungle, and they don't demand you make the navigational choices. A true guide pays exquisite attention to the terrain.
They're just hyper aware.
Right. They read the environment. They
Mhm.
quietly look back at your body language to see if you are tired or if you're enjoying the view. They navigate with a quiet, observant confidence.
That makes so much sense.
They lead, but their leadership is entirely informed by their profound presence and attunement to you.
That completely relieves the mental load. You can actually relax and enjoy the hike because you know the guide is paying attention to the details. Exactly.
They don't need a fake theatrical persona to do that. They just need to be grounded in the reality of the moment. They're actively listening to your physical cues instead of reciting a script.
And when a clumsy transition happens, when you trip over a root on that jumble path, the guide doesn't fall to their knees, weeping and apologizing for feeling you.
Right. They don't make it about them.
They catch your arm, make sure you are steady, share a reassuring smile, and keep the momentum of the hike moving forward. They maintain the safety of the journey.
We really hope this breakdown has given you some aha moments today. Understanding these 5 traps isn't just about avoiding a list of specific icks behind closed doors.
No, it's much bigger than that.
What this text really offers is a masterclass in understanding how we share or how we selfishly offload mental and emotional burdens during our most vulnerable moments.
Absolutely.
It challenges us to recognize when we're hiding behind a costume of cultural expectations or when we are paralyzing our partners with our own unmanaged anxiety. I actually want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your week.
Let's hear it.
Human psychology rarely stays neatly confined to just one room of the house. The mechanics of cognitive load and the fear of vulnerability, they follow us everywhere.
That's a good point.
If these relationship traps are largely driven by a fear of doing it wrong or a desire to perform an artificial role, how many other areas of your life are suffering from this exact same dynamic?
Oh man, that is an intense question to consider.
Think about your career. Where are you projecting false dominance in a meeting because imposter syndrome is creeping in and you think acting like a boss will hide it?
Oh, wow.
Think about your friendships. Where are you forcing your friends into a permission loop because you're too anxious to just pick a restaurant and make a plan?
Guilty.
Or where in your life are you radiating waiting room energy, lying back, and hoping a coworker or a family member will just step up and take the heavy mental load off your shoulders?
It's all the exact same mechanism, just wearing different clothes.
Where else in your life could you and everyone around you benefit from you simply dropping the costume, stepping out of the anxious management role, and choosing to just be a present, observant guide?
That is a phenomenal thought to end on. It might be time to put away the clipboards, take off the heavy costumes, and turn those fluorescent lights back off.
Definitely.
Thank you all so much for joining us as we explored this fascinating text. We love taking these deep dives with you, finding the hidden psychological mechanisms behind our everyday behaviors and figuring out how to actually apply them.
That's always a journey.
Keep observing the dynamics around you, keep questioning your own scripts, and keep showing up authentically. We will catch you on the next deep dive.